were a little overconfident. We thought we were going to beat them and then move on to the next ones and the next teams in the group. But they came out and played really well, and I think we are going to prepare better now and we'll have a better showing this time. We've been doing really well in practice and scrims, and we just haven't showed it on stage yet. No, we're not going to let them stand in our way. I think we're going to win tomorrow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Icons 2022. Joining me is mid laner for Rix. It's Snitch. Welcome back, brother. It was good to have you on stage. Obviously, this series was a close one. You guys got the win. Didn't quite go your way. What was it like there on stage?
I mean, honestly, I'm still just really happy that I got to play on stage at all. Obviously, dealing with the COVID diagnosis was really hard for me and the team. I think we still performed really well and really admirably, even while I wasn't able to play on stage. But just getting the opportunity to actually be on the world stage, even just for a few games, was just really phenomenal. Especially, having a really great game, one that we did. But yeah, just being able to play it all, honestly, is really happy for me. So even though we lost and fell short, and I don't think we reached the potential that we wanted, I'm still just excited I got to play it all, really.
Yeah, I know it was a couple games ago, but encapsulate what it was like getting that win against T1 and, being on the front foot and, as you said, fight through that adversity of not being able to play with the team.
No, I mean, I think game one left us really excited. We definitely felt like we understood their draft, and they gave us the karma, which we feel like is really, really strong. And, we managed to play the game really well in the team fights. And I think that's what T1 is really good at. In Korea, in general, they try and stall out the game and get to these, long-form team fights. And we felt like we were just matching them in that regard and then outplaying them. And then I think after that, we just got a bit more confused with the draft.
Yeah, well, I mean, that last one, you guys went with 2 Enchanter, 2 tanks, Hyper Carry. Well, how did that game 3 play out for you?
I mean, I think they performed really well in their lanes, basically. I think the duo lane played really well game 2 and 3 for T1, honestly. I think it was a big factor as to why they were able to win, is their duo lane stepped up a lot, going from kind of just safer mages to they're playing the AD carries and kind of playing a lot more aggressive.
When you're looking back at this Icons 2022, what are going to be some of the biggest takeaways for you and the rest of Rix?
I mean, I think just the main thing for us is that we've been able to kind of put Europe on the map a bit. I think we had a lot of really great games, and even if we didn't make it further, I think we proved that we could. I don't think anybody's going to question that we couldn't have made it out of this group. And I think before, everyone was saying, this group is decided, Rix is never going to make it, there's no chance, they're just going to get completely destroyed. And I think we proved that wasn't the case. And I think that was kind of a big win for us in general, was just, even though the first series, we could have won it 2-0, and the games didn't work out. I think even just proving that we could beat these regions that were meant to be untouchable for a region like ours, I think is really good.
I think those are fantastic takeaways, and like you said, putting Europe on the map. So to the rest of your European fans, do you have any final words as you depart here on Icons?
I mean, huge thank you to all of our fans supporting us on Twitter and social media and all this. I know this isn't the result you wanted. It's not the result we wanted, obviously, but I still, like I said, I hope we were able to prove to you that Europe has what it takes. We'll grind harder, work harder, come back next year, and of course, there's still Team Queso to support in the group stage, and I'm sure they'll put on a phenomenal show, so make sure to keep cheering for them.
Yeah. Cheering for him as well. Again, part of the celebration here at Icons. Thank you so much for your time. Let's send it back on over to Mika and the boys.
Aw, congratulations to Rix nonetheless. I mean, we are so excited to see what what the future of Wild Rift has in store for them, and I would love to see them back on the world stage once again. But now it is time for our final match of the day, coming in after a huge victory against KDF last night. Sentinels is looking to get revenge against Liberty, who sent them to the losers bracket in the first place. Rafa, I'm gonna have you lead this because I know this hits hard for you.
It's a huge rematch, and a lot of the conversations about this lower bracket was, oh yeah, Kwangdong Freaks, this is the biggest challenge. If Sentinels take them down, the rest of the road should be relatively easy. But you gotta remember who sent them there in the first place, and Liberty is not taking any prisoners in the way that they have advanced so far.
And that's where I would put things I would put the brakes on this, on the Sentinels train, on the We Beat Korea train. Even though, yes, I did open the broadcast with that, Liberty Gaming might be the harder match. We've seen Korea be inconsistent. We saw KDF be especially inconsistent. And yes, Sentinels earned a hard-fought victory over them, but Liberty have been the opposite. Every time they've shown up, they've demonstrated that they're very good at a couple of specific things. They're very good at picking teams apart with mechanics. They're very good at coordinating those team fights, running the maps so that they get guaranteed 5v5s.
And it is all led by Manafritza in the support role. This guy has taken so much lessons and so much just from being here on the international stage and being able to scrim with some of the best teams in the world. I even got a chance to catch up with him before the Icon started, and just going into the last couple of matches throughout play-ins. He was talking about how one of the biggest things for me is, over in Brazil, I was never challenged as hard as I was when I started playing against some of the supports from China. The way how early they're moving on the map, it really forced me to grow as a support, to really just improve my skills. And I want to take what I've learned from those scrims, because some of the scrims were insanely difficult, but I think he has definitely applied them in a great manner, and it was one of the ways that was instrumental to deconstructing Sentinels in their first series win.
And the thing that they did to Sentinels was they denied Sentinels what they want. Sentinels are really good at organizing late game fights. They're very good at playing an almost Korean style of, we're going to slow down the game, we're going to guarantee that the only engagement we take is one that we choose, and when we get to that chosen fight, it's going to be exactly the terms we want. They're always a team that understands how to win their key fight, where their strengths are, and how to leverage them. Thing is, if you're playing against Liberty, you're not going to get the fight you want, and when you do get it, it's going to be on Liberty's terms, with them all around you, with Manafritza hitting crazy hooks from all sides. That's the sort of thing they need to solve for if they're going to change the results of this head-to-head.
And I just want to, of course, remind everybody how crazy that Liberty and Sentinels match was. Liberty have this unpredictability about them, and that's like an X factor that I think you cannot prepare for. No matter how much homework your coach or your analyst can do and how much scrims you have, there is just this X factor with these with some of these teams. Liberty is one of them. Sometimes they can pull off something incredible, and it may actually work.
I would say for both these teams, because the thing about Sentinels is they're always this team where you look at them on paper and you say, how much firepower does this team have, right? A lot of the players on this team not known for their incredible mechanical performances, but they always seem to find a magic team fight. Or maybe things are going wrong in the team fights. And MTS, some of the top lane, has a magic 2 kills he got from somewhere. That's Sentinels, and I think it is also Liberty.
And I want to credit some of the newfound firepower in with Tybe and Molly, the youngest people that have come to this roster. Of course, Molly, who was signed during the early season before the WNS first started, but Tybe being brought in as a substitute. And he showed up big in that Kwangdong Freak series, and I think the newfound synergy between him and Molly stepping up to the plate has really upped Sentinel's game and has evened their chances with Liberty.
Because we had that big question coming in of, okay, you're this team built around your coordination, built around your in-fight communication. What happens when you change a part of that ship? Are you able to slot Tybe into that coordinated style? The answer? Well, it's still out, but so far, yeah. So far, it looks pretty good. I would also like to flag one more thing. Oh, Sentinels screaming on stage behind us. I hope that was picked up.
Even Liberty is like, man, They're
That
enthusiastic.
was a lot. You hear that through the noise-canceling headphones.
Whereas Mana Fritz is like, oh, whatever, they're vibing.
I would like to flag one more thing. Sentinels screaming on stage. They are the only North American team that was ever in this play-on stage. Liberty are the only Brazilian team left in this play-on stage. Either of these regions could be eliminated from play-ins here.
Jumping into our predictions right now, I think there's a little bit of a surprise here on the desk because
Not if you subscribe to Color Theory, Mika.
if in case you haven't caught the Easter eggs that we've been broadcasting here on the desk,
Non-linear storytelling.
I am now a believer. I'm a believer, Rafa. That game last night, it really won me over.
I want to clarify something. No matter how badly matched up, if Sentinels were going into Liberty, I would still predict Sentinels because this is a team that I grew up with. It has Tybe, a pro player that I've known since the early inceptions of my Wild Rift Esports career as a caster, so I'm always going to support them. But I want to say that Liberty is an opponent that cannot be slept on here.
Mark, I've known these players for like years. Since 2018, I have been playing, I have been casting these Sentinels players, but unlike you, I have ethics. And I know that this prediction, prediction right here is for analysis. And when I have to analyze, and when my brain is, grinding through the numbers, it's a machine up there, Mark. And the machine has spit out a name. That name is Liberty. They win the team fights. That's what Sentinels want to play to. It's a very rough matchup.
And you can see how tense this matchup is as our two analysts here are going right at it.
I could never beat you up.
Oh, that's relieving.
You're too wholesome. No, you're too wholesome. That anyway.
You are making me really sad. But
that's so much worse.
But we will see what happens on the Rift. The last thing from Liberty is that Mana Fritz wanted to explicitly state, and which is why I'm really sad that it has to come down to this, only Sentinels or Liberty could go through, because honestly, I would love to have seen both of these teams advance to the group stage, but Mana Fritz has talked about, do not belittle Brazil, do not sleep on Brazil, they're going to show their power, even if it is the last series.
And that's a big part of this. I do think North America is an incredibly strong region this year. Everyone, I think, on the caster desk coming into this tournament was very impressed with the Wild Tour as well.
Yes.
And these are two regions that are, I think, much closer to the Asian teams than people thought coming in, as evidenced by the fact that they've both taken games off of them.
Yes, exactly. And, they have won those games. And I love that this goes back to what you mentioned that Mana Fritz said. It really ramps up the competition here. Everybody's just that much closer to each other. And right now, we're seeing a lot of energy here in the drafting phase.
Liberty trying to match the cheer, I think they were desynced.
I like this back and forth,
Only half of the team managed to scream. Yeah, talking about the draft, right off the bat, Sentinels grabbed the Wukong. Wukong has come into high prominence, I think the third most picked character at this event. Very useful in the late game team fights, got a damage buff right before this patch. And it establishes that you want to front to back, which is the Sentinels' bread and butter. They get the Wukong, they get the Darius. That's going to be in the front lines. You're going to put rest on this Varus behind that and organize these very well-coordinated team fights as we were talking about.
Rafa, right now, we're seeing Sentinels here looking a little bit comfortable, and we're seeing Liberty actually fire back, as we can see, like when we look behind us and we see the cheers going on backstage, or rather on stage. And right now we're seeing a little bit of a fire back from Liberty.
Big question from Liberty is how are they answering rest in the backline? Are they going to assist Freaks in the top side of the map with this Camille looking for extra dive partners, or is he going to be on a solo mission?
And this is what I'm looking at when I look at the Sentinels draft. Okay, you're organizing a front-to-back team fight. That's what everyone expects from Sentinels. So, what did Liberty come into this match ready to do to that front-to-back team fight? The answer so far, well, we've got the Corki, we've got the Camille, we've got the Olaf. Three things that chew on front lines, and the Camille in particular, who will be able to get over the front line and onto that Varus.
I'm also sad that Thresh has been banned and we won't be able to see Mana Freezer on
that's
the Thresh.
absolutely.
I think that was a given.
If you
that
want
was a given.
Sentinels to win and you are respecting Liberty, you have to ban Mana Freezer's Thresh. and also these two other Enchanter supports, this signals to me that they're wary that this could be a Corki in the mid lane, and Liberty might pivot to something that we saw from both T1 and Rix, late game marksman.
It's also the Olaf, because the Olaf right now is in a very weird place without any kind of speed boosting. Orianna banned out, Shen banned out, Lulu banned out, Nami banned out. There's nothing that's going to accelerate that Olaf into a fight. It's a dry Olaf. No lubrication. Is going to be very difficult to get them into the backlines and do major damage.
Sentinels, I mean, they can slow it down and they can cause barriers to make sure that this Olaf doesn't get anywhere near rest. They'll have done their job. And an old school counter has been something like a Jarvan. However, with both the Wukong and the Darius already locked in, unless you want to see some classic TJ J4 support.
Well, I think they need something that can get into the backlines of Sentinels, because Sentinels with that Galio have such a good defense against the Camille. And the Olaf is what's supposed to get past it, but because he's not ready to go down the slip and slide, he doesn't have like the Karma, for instance, boosting him in. I don't know how Liberty is going to get past beginning.
I think, look at, you can't. It's a 4-man brawler composition. It is a classic Fortress-style comp that Sentinels made a name for themselves during the early parts of the WNS.
This is the perfect Sentinels draft.
And this is going to be very exciting indeed. TJ, you mentioned that Liberty might be missing a little piece, a little
They still
piece
are.
over here. So are you saying that Liberty look a little shaky right now?
Everything that they want to pair with that Olaf got removed, banned down, or removed by them. And so now this Olaf is just going to have to run in through the front side of this fight and hope that it works out. I don't think they're going to be able to access the backline unless we see some really good Set or Camille play.
And the big thing that Liberty is lacking is damage that can actually cut through a giant beefy front line.
It's Galio. It's Garen.
Corki's not going to be enough. Jace is not going to be enough. Camille, yes, she does true damage, but it doesn't come in at a rapid pace. This is where you would have been craving for something like a Kai'Sa or for a Vayne, but they have pivoted over to the Set for the last support pick. Liberty, if you don't snowball in the early game, I think Sentinels take this game in the late stage.
Well, we're going to see if that is indeed true or if this goes over to Liberty. Grandin, Riku, hype us up.
I'm hyping.
Yes, you are.
Sentinels and Liberty, hyping it up.
Woo, woo.
Got the energy going. I'm telling you what, Riku, I'm looking forward to the rematch. This is
going to be crazy.
It's not just a game at this point. It's not just about the game. No. At this point, the WNS is this close to going into the group stage, making it the furthest they've ever made it in Wild Rift competitive history.
That is true.
Right.
That is true. When we look back at Horizon Cup, there were a lot of struggles, and now what an amazing feat. Yesterday, when Sentinels sent Kwangdong Freaks home, making it just 2 representatives from the WCK coming into groups. And meanwhile, Liberty, they won their match against Sentinels as well, 2-1. So it could repeat again this time
frankly,
around.
Sentinels is a team of 3-game series, close matches throughout, and they are prepared, I think, here to go the distance if they have to.
If they have to. I mean, as much as possible, of course, you want to get it into just 2-0. That is the dream. That is the goal here. But looking at the history of how Sentinels has been getting their wins, it's always these game 3s, and especially both of these two teams have already punched each other in the face already before.
Oh my.
Oh my is right.
That sounds quite rough, Riku.
But the thing is, the approach of Sentinels this time around is rest here. Not going to be punching everybody in the face, but this time going to attack from the backline.
Did they at least hold back the last time they punched each other in the face?
They tried. No
holding
they went
back.
all in. They
No
went
holding
all
back.
in.
All right,
No,
last
no,
time
no.
around, there was no holding back. This time around, no holding back even more.
Yeah, extra. There's a lot on the line here. The AD mentioned it before. It was TJ that said, you know, for Sentinels, if they proceed, that'll be 2 representatives for the WNS. Meanwhile, for Liberty, they're the sole survivors from the Wild Tour from Brazil. So this will mean a lot from the play-ins when they move on to the group stage.
Absolutely. You know, just having that additional team really increases your odds, especially with how stacked things are looking so far. 4 teams from the WRL, 4 teams from the WCS.
Woo.
You are competing against some incredible teams. So, how do we get to that point? You talked it through. Rest, that big carry for Sentinels. No one can touch him. A massive front line for him.
that is ideal, right? Because you've got 4 beefy boys on the side of Sentinels to make sure to create this wall, create this fortress, as Rap has mentioned.
Okay, and Frieza's gonna come in. Smite will come across, but as Mana Frieza picks up the blue buff in the end, picks up a little bit more EXP. Beginnings caught out of position. Kona picks up the kill credit, but he goes down. A 1-for-1 exchange on both sides.
But that's first blood for Liberty here, but that was Sentinels getting deep into the jungle, into jungle territory of Liberty, so they were trying to find a pick themselves. But again, for the side of LBR, I'm looking at Mana Frieza here, because he had the last pick in the draft. They picked the set. But let's take a look at that first before we delve into their comp. And again, it was Mana Frieza Kona over here. Really nice face breaker, holding people down. Boss is there for the additional damage.
And gets the blue buff.
And gets the blue buff to boot. Deny that away from Sentinel's attempt to go over to the LBR jungle.
But Ty will look for a second try coming. Flashing in was not needed, but for safe measure, a second kills to Sentinels.
Really nicely done as a response here. I like this proactivity here from both of these teams, mainly from Sentinels. They were the ones that delved deep into the jungle of Liberty. They were the ones that set up that kill towards Freaks. And I feel like Tybe here on this Wukong, we saw him in game number 3 up against Kwangdong Freaks, being that enabler, being that play setter, rather, to access these team fights, to access these fights, rather.
Look at what Liberty's trying to get done now. They've sent a 3-man squad running into the jungle and spotted out here by the sweeper on the side of Sentinels. This red buff once again. A contentious boy flashing in. Does get a chain of corruption down first, but can he get the follow-up? JY does not his ultimate, still sends Boss over the wall, flashing away.
That was too close for Boss. Forced to use a lot of summoner spells, really nicely done by Rest. Gotta keep an eye out of that with a flash chain of corruptions. But going back to Mana Frieza, they picked up the set because Showstopper deals a lot of these health percentage damage, and he has a lot of targets to choose from. Got MTS, got Tav, got Molly, got Beginnings. You send that to the face of Rest, and that is a lot of value.
What an interesting game starting this one out. Sentinels have gone in for the early engage. They've gone into the enemy jungle. Liberty have done the same. They've gone in trying to steal camps away from each other. And what an aggressive start to the series. That being said, first one coming up, I can only imagine how much more intense it's going to get.
Oh yeah. Imagine when the first dragon is spawned, Rift Herald. Look at this roam from Mana Frieza though. This is what is expected. This is exactly what he did. No matter if he's on a Thresh or not, he's gonna roam for his carries.
Absolutely. When you have Freaks off in the side lane with the potential to pop off, you can see Liberty making a smart decision not to push the engage further. Beginnings nearby will spot them out.
Yeah, not a lot of opportunities there. They'd rather go back, reset, then fight at Rift Herald.
Wow, Mali is already becoming so tanky. The barrier from Kona used. But Ignite on the side of Mali as well. Blocks down a lot of the damage, and this side lane exchange looking good for Sentinels.
Yeah, good thing. Good thing they both had hull breakers. That could have been very scary for Kona.
Rift Herald started off here by Sentinels. Liberty trying to find a way in.
There's
Frieza comes in, gets a showstopper, a big one. Facebooker uses as well. Chain of Corruption lands on the Kinsey, but Kinsey cannot be stopped. No one can stop the engage on the Rest. Rest goes down. A huge use of the Proto Belt. They find the kill to at least trade back for something on the Mana Frieza. They take down Kinsey over the back line as well, and somehow Sentinels again with a 2-for-1 exchange.
Oh my word. That is the engage that we were looking for. Imagine if Boss had 3 items, 2 items. I feel like that's where everyone from Sentinels is just gonna melt to dust.
Liberty pulled the trigger, but Sentinels win the exchange. For now though, Rest in a bit of danger. You can see what happens here, Riku.
Yeah, exactly right. You send any, just choose between 4 champions on the side of Sentinels. Mana Frieza just pulls the trigger with a showstopper, and that's exactly what happens, right? Disintegrated. Rest, unfortunately, does not have the backline. The backline just was not existent there because of the backline access.
Playing on backline access there, Mana Frieza looking for the Rift Herald charge, trying to take down the turret if they can. 42 HP, very close to going down. Mana Frieza needs to be a little bit wary about this. We'll get tagged here, Chain of Corruption as well as the taunt, meaning that Sentinels get once again another kill, going over to Type this time around.
I really thought that was the great escape, but Sentinels, they secure that kill. And again, without Mana Frieza, they're gonna have a hard, Liberty is gonna have a hard time starting this fight. Yes, you got Freaks for the Hextech ultimatum, but it's not this big AoE that you need to fight Sentinels with their comp.
Liberty do get something back though. First turret in the top side. Kona working away on that with his Hullbreaker. But the Sentinels do find themselves a mid-side turret with this next wave if they continue to push on.
One thing that I want to look at though is Type. He's 401, Divine Thunder are already completed. They can play to this aggression, with this lead rather.
Gets the wall down in time, spots out Type.
Wait, oh okay, I thought he was doing the thing where he pretends to not be the clone. Or to be the clone rather.
Let's go with his phone. It's like, I'm the clone. You can walk in on me, boss. It's okay, just walk in on me.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's fine. I'm the clone.
Yeah, it's the clone, that's safe. No, but you still get hit by the Cyclone on the clone, so
That's true.
it's never really safe. That's talking about Cyclone, the first Cyclone is going to be used.
Oh.
But coming through from Freaks, ultimate use by Beginnings. Managed to find a knockup back on the Man of Freeze. Very difficult to finish off with these kills. Mali and MTS so far away from the fight.
Look at the early game. Ras is dealing a huge amount of damage from the piercing arrows, and it forces Liberty to just back away instead.
And Liberty looked like they had a good engage there. Very close to finding a kill on the time, lapsing very quickly, narrowly missing that chance.
Yeah, I feel like Freaks really, that's the reason why they locked down Tybe in that scenario, is they really wanted to get those shutdown goals slowly building up.
Liberty would have definitely done well with that additional cash in hand. For now though, both sides can try and scale back a little bit. They want to move back, go back to base. Res still has that big win condition. When he gets ahead with the rest of his team able to protect him, hold around him, a massive shielded wall. Liberty, on the other hand, they still have the Olaf, and the Olaf can run them down.
For sure. That is your secondary backline access. If Manu Frize is able to catch Sentinels off guard with an amazing Facebreaker Showstopper, then boom, that's the time Kinzin can go in.
Exactly. And so a lot of emphasis on Mana Frize to get that stuff done. Whereas Sentinels are going to slowly whittle away at these turrets. Reptile coming up once again quite soon. Dragon will follow a little bit later this time around, so Sentinels have quite a bit of downtime. I'm curious what they're going to try and get done with it. They have been able to build a gold lead.
And this is going to be very important for Sentinels, right? Because they have a lot of tanks on their side, with, on paper, only Ras dealing the consistent damage. And meanwhile, for Liberty, it's quite the opposite. They have a lot of damage on their plate. So my worry would be, they might run out of damage. But I think the silver lining for this is that everyone's squishy on LBR. If you're up against Bruisers...
If you're up against Bruisers, Liberty
Wow.
end up losing one here very quickly. It's going to be Kona going down to the inside. Oh, he's still alive! Type gashes in, gets a Nimble Strike. Finally, Redemption comes through, but it's a little bit too late. Will not be able to keep Type alive. Freaks joins back in, looking for the catch on the Res. Res still has Splash Res to get over the wall quickly.
Wow.
Will dodge away to the other side so he does not face off against Boss. MTS losing health. Mali goes back in onto the Corki. The Corki already using his Valkyrie on both expenses. And so Sentinels get to have control here.
They're so tanky, no one was dying. Sentinels was just running over Liberty because they were pretty much very, very squishy. And Mali, look at him go. He was in the middle of the entire fight and it felt like he wasn't damaged at all. Let's take a look at that again, right? It was Sentinels that pulled the trigger. And Kona survived a little bit from the ult of MTS, but it doesn't change the fact that it forced Liberty away from their position, their advantageous position. Freaks, again, your target is Res, but Hourglass bought a lot of time for Res to live.
I mean, I want to talk about why Res was even in that bad position to begin with, because Man on Freeze got that entry angle in. Whereas Liberty in the bot side will see their efforts unfulfilled. Turret will not fall. But Man of Freeze was able to get backline access onto Rest again, which was the reason why Rest was even in a precarious position.
There's so many answers, right? Hextech Ultimatum, Man of Freeze, most especially with the set. There's Kinzin as well for the Ghost Signal with Ragnarok. And with Azonius Hourglass completed, for Rest, at least there is that, you know, safety buy time for Beginnings to enter the fight with the Galley Bolt.
Little Drake coming up. Sentinels should be looking for this. They're going to reset now. I think that should mean they make their way over, but Liberty have control over it first.
Honestly, Ty being 5-1-2, I feel like Liberty now sort of shifted. We see tons of times for Freaks wanting to remove Ty out of the equation and then Rest after. Honestly, Matt, if Montefiore just dives in, gets two rest and type, that's your ideal situation in this next Dragon fight.
TP for Kano. For Kona, I think this is a call saying that we can try and fight for this. I can't TP, and looks like Liberty are willing to commit for this fight. Kinsey tries to walk forward first.
There it is. Freaks!
Overextended, it's gonna get caught out. Freaks with a beautiful engage, gets in the backline, exits Mana Freezer with a face breaker as well as he locks out the Varus. The big one ultimately finishes off the kill onto the Varus. Over by the side, Time still dishing out damage. Such a powerful Wukong. The front line is too tanky, has too much damage. An infinite amount of sustain for the Wukong. Time looking to take down boss as well. He picks up the Hunting Fruit, still alive. Freak misses a chance for the kill by missing out on the hook shot, but they still find it. Ultimately, boss needs to get away. Watch out for Molly, he comes in, hits the dunk, and they're looking for the kill on the Freaks as well, the last one up for Liberty.
This is gonna be very tricky, 1v2. I know you got true damage, but this is a little bit tricky with the silence. You cannot do anything if you dive in.
But the Dragon is still up. Rift Tower popped in the mid side. Sentinels will not be able to find the charge, will not get the Dragon, but they get a good fight win.
Yeah, let's take a look at that again. Liberty had that priority. Get rest, no problem. But your backline will have to face Mali, beginnings, Time, most importantly, was 5-1 already on the board. Honestly, Liberty getting rest out of the picture immediately was amazing for them. But at this point of the game, where you don't have enough damage to remove the tanks just yet, you don't have shred, you don't have enough yet, again, for the tanks. Round 2, baby!
And we're right back into it. Clone pulled in with a showstopper. Mana Freezer loses health so quickly this time around. Rest is untouched and he gets to do damage. MTS dashes in with the Protobelt. Looking for the pickup. The Emperor Hand won't connect. Freaks left to run back in the jungle of Sentinels.
Yeah, this is jungle in exchange for the support. Again, Mana Freezer is needed in these fights, and that's the reason why Liberty just is going to back away instead. Sentinels, though, is able to get a good grip of vision on the side of that Dragon. Infernal Drake still not taken, by the way.
And for as long as this Infernal Drake is up, Liberty are going to have to keep walking back into it. Sentinels know they can pull attention to this objective.
And now it feels like Liberty has shifted gears. Kona right now is going to do the split push, going to take advantage of this 3 cannon wave with the Hull Breaker in his hands, just to see if they can get a turret, establish pressure rather on top side.
Mali does have his as well.
Teleport picked up too.
He had the teleport for a while now. Kona had this before the first Dragon fight, but they weren't able to use it. Type running back in as quickly as he can. 3,000 HP left on this Dragon, but teleport starts to come in. Mana Freezer with the engaged face breaker only lands on the beginning. Looking for the start, the hunt where he can. But it's Liberty that finds the Dragon in the chaos of the fight.
Gotta love what Liberty is doing, right? They got the Dragon, and they know that they don't need to fight just yet. I wonder if Sentinel's trying to bait this.
Type trying to go back in again. They get to change corruption on the Mana Freezer. It should be the first kill. But the Mana Freezer flashes over the wall.
Tick, tick,
tick! The Raptors still manages to live through the Ignite. Liberty start to run away in the mid lane. MTS will give it an engagement. Will not be able to get the upper hand, but Mali with the kill.
Nicely done finish. Execute from Mali here on Kinzin.
Can you find a catch on the Time again? Very nice talk. Gets Justice Punch on the corner. The arrow will finish him off. Rest walks away. Does not have to look for the kill. He gets it anyway.
Meanwhile, look at bottom lane. Freaks taking advantage. He also has Hull Breaker, by the way. It's going to take this tower down.
No, if MTS has anything to say about it. Oh! No, he gets it.
Cannons! Cannons for the win. Cannon minions for the win there. Really nicely done by Freaks, while Sentinels was so busy initiating these fights, which is correct. Freaks, on the other hand, responded. Now, with this assembly, this configuration, we know Liberty is not going for these team fights at the moment. If there are no objectives, we're going to go 1-3-1. Facebreaker.
Trying to go in onto Mali here, but not sure how effective this is going to be. Buying so much time here as Time running over quickly. He has the Cyclone. Mali still losing health to the Ignite. Freaks flashes in, secure the kill, but with that, he's also secured his own death.
It's 1-for-1 now on that fight there. It's a top lane versus mid lane. Mali for Freaks. Well, good thing there are no objectives just yet, or else that could have been tricky.
Is the Baron not an objective, Riku?
Okay, fine. It is an objective. It is an objective.
Wow. Baron forgotten as an objective. My goodness.
I know. I was looking at the Elder Drake. Okay, Elder Drake, that's fine. They're fired.
Everyone always looks at the Elder Drakes like, yeah, Elder Drake, you're so cool, you're so popular. You know, everyone likes you. Baron's like, guys, I literally help most teams win games. Like, I am the more effective buff overall. Statistically speaking,
Yeah, I
Baron
help
wins you
Siege.
more games.
That is true.
But like everyone's like looking at Elder because it's like I give you stats, special effects, you know, like oh that's so cool.
I don't know why. I'm hearing like the Baron voice in my head saying like, I help you siege towers. Come on, Riku. I don't think Baron sounds like that though. No.
We don't know. You know, maybe that's like a really high voice.
That could be true. There has been many Barons that we've seen from our games and the icons.
Yeah.
It's not the same Baron. They're different Barons every time.
Oh, wow. Now you've given me something to think about.
I wonder what the lore says, but we don't want to go too deep.
Sentinels are trying to go deep in the jungle of Liberty here though. Get spotted out along the way. Tide looking for an engage onto Kona, but Kona will be wary of this and back off in time.
Look at this 1-3-1 though. Freaks, take note, doesn't have teleport. So this will be a little bit awkward. MTS already joining in the fray to make sure that Freaks doesn't push too much.
Yeah, you are the Camille, so it is easier to get in, but still quite far away. They find a catch on the boss. Boss, you might be able to flash, but you're still at risk of going down. Molly comes in, it's a kill out for rest. They've taken down the Corki.
Oh, gotta love what Tide did. Interrupted a Valkyrie midway. Tide still going in? It's like that's a no. Freaks holding his ground, still pushing bot lane though.
They're trying to get some damage control done. They've already lost the mid lane, so what else can you do? They just want to push the bot side.
Yeah, without boss, no wave clear. It's gonna be awkward. I feel like Sen can do this, can destroy this tower.
Want this tower quickly, and they're able to shred it down so very fast. Ras still has his arrow. They get the inhibitor. One mistake here from boss, and the mid side inhibitor goes down.
My word.
Flash after flash out from Sentinels as they're chasing after Liberty in their own base. Won't be able to find more though.
Gotta love Liberty holding their ground, making sure that Freaks instills pressure still, because it's not like Freaks can do anything in the mid lane at the moment. Might as well.
Oh no. Freaks.
Pressure down!
Cyclone again. Gets the shield, has the flash, beginnings. Line and wait.
Can they buy time?
Taunt comes across, the rest of Liberty's trying to run in now. Mana Frieza with the engage again. Begins trying to use his ultimate, but gets cancelled in the process. Mana Frieza still alive, but he will go down eventually. Buying some time by going golden in the hourglass. Rest is still in the back of the pit. Molly needs to trade back, but Kinzit heals up so much health.
He was 1v2ing at the back of that pit, at the back of that Elder pit. He was so low, just like basically hashtag just Olaf things. You can see him deal so much damage and heal up from that exchange on that 1v2 at the back of that pit. Crazy fight from Liberty.
And the Elder Drake coming up very soon. But for now, the Coca-Cola pop-off as we look at Freaks getting caught out initially.
Yeah, it felt like Sentinels would have gotten the upper hand, making it a 5v3 situation. But in the end, that hourglass stasis bought some time. I want to look at Kinzit here. Look at Kinzit. Zonia's hourglass. Boom. Okay, I'm going to wait for you to stasis out. Rest comes out of stasis. Still falls down. Rest still alive. Boom. Bye-bye, Molly. And Liberty just played that fight so well.
I think that fight started before Boss had left the base.
Yeah,
like he was still at the edge of his base.
It was 5v3!
And they were fighting for such a long time. With Freaks gone so quickly, Liberty held on. And by the time Boss was able to join back in, of course, we saw what happened, was able to keep Kinzin alive. Now, Elder Drake started up. The real objective started up by Liberty. Time is a distance away. He's still in the mid lane. He needs to start walking in first. Mana Frieza going to pull them away. Watch what happens here. FTS dashes into the back line, but the Dragon goes over to Liberty in time. Kinz's still alive here, but FTS will finally manage to find the trade, take him down. Mana Frieza needs to start running. Rest wants to chase after, but the Proto Belt, of course, going to be used. Freeze off by the top side. He's going to do damage to the base of Sentinels. Watch out for what happens here. And Freeze is here to prevent the recalls. Sentinels cannot go back into base. They cannot recall Riku.
They cannot.
Kona's still there.
Kona's hitting it. Kona's gonna hit the Nexus.
He's brought the minions into base. He's onto the Nexus. There is no fortification, but he has no more mana. On auto attack. Time cannot stop that. Liberty get game number 1.
In explosive fashion, with Kona winning the duel up against Molly with that Garen, both having hull breakers. But at the end of the day, they were able to get that Elder Drake, boosting the stats of Kona, winning that 1v1, then hitting the Nexus.
That was an unbelievable win, Riku.
I know! It looked so well for Sentinels. They were winning some of these fights, and it felt like that big 50-50 that they had to win. But when we looked at that Elder Drake fight, you saw Mano just zoning out the rest of Sentinels so that Boss and Kinzin focused heavily on that Elder Drake.
I cannot imagine the comms that had to be going on in that moment. As the rest of the team saw Sentinels in that brush, that was the deciding moment when they knew they could stop the recalls, when Freaks could stop the recalls, that Kona could go in and end the game from there.
It was just unbelievable. What a crazy way to end. And the way that it felt like this game number 1, that victory for Liberty, that's going to carry on. That momentum's going to carry on for game number 2. Especially the fact that Kona won a duel up against Mali as well and ended that game.
Well, what an amazing start here for Liberty in this series. We're going to toss it back over to the analyst desk to break down game number 1 to see what needs to be done to keep Sentinels alive in the series.
Oh my gosh. I can see Rafa's expression
Hi, TJ.
right now. If you can just...
Are you doing okay?
Okay?
Hey, it's game 1.
It's game 1.
It's game 1.
That's what he says.
It's game 1, okay? Remember the
Wondering,
Kwang...
it was game 1.
Yeah, remember the Kwangdong Freaks? They won.
do.
They lost the first game.
Okay.
Reverse swept. Okay?
Sure.
Okay.
In that series that they won, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
it's only one game. However, the momentum, the emotional reaction from Liberty in the manner that they won,
I'll tell you what it was.
that is damning.
We talked about it during the draft. There was a moment where we all stopped talking. I don't know if it picked up on the microphone because Sentinels loading into game screamed. It
Yep.
was loud
They
enough
did,
that
they
you
did.
100% heard it on stage. You heard it in this entire big open air stadium type deal. And then as that game ended, they got a taste of their own medicine. Liberty screamed so loudly. It was again
Energy.
really
Energy.
loud all the
You
way
can
across this
really
giant
feel
room.
They
it, yes.
slammed the table. I saw Mana Fritze popped up, said, "What's good? What's good?" Dude, oh please, is this the? Oh, okay, it's not quite the
I
reaction.
do hope we have footage of it.
Yeah,
It
because
was incredible.
Because when Sentinels popped off at the beginning, Mana Fritze just shrugged it off like, man, these guys, these gringos,
We'll
man.
save it. We'll save it for after game 1.
Yeah, we'll let the game do the talking.
Well, there you go. There's
Here's
the
during
coach,
happier
but
times.
during happier times, yes, indeed. But that's the thing. Sentinels look really, really good in this game. They did.
Well, they delivered on their composition. Their composition is a little outdated. It's an old plane, but she still flies. This is what was run at the very beginning of this season in the WRL and WCK, which is the full Fortress composition. You have a ton of tanks, usually 3 of them, plus a Varus in the backlines, this time piloted by Rest, and then you give an assassin to your jungler. And the theory is your tank front line doesn't die, your Varus does sustained damage over the course of the fight, and then you have a whole bunch of blinking health bars, which are kind of a pain to chase down with the Varus, and that's why you follow through with Tide. You have that assassin to leak into the backlines to find those kills. And that worked for the first half of the game, and then they were just taken apart by Liberty once it got messy.
It got to the split pushing tactics from Brazil. Once the 3rd seed from Wallator realized that, hey, we're starting to lose out on these team fights, we're no longer going to just blindly opt into 5v5s and hope for a miracle. You saw that Freaks went immediately onto split push duty, and then with Kona on the opposite side of the map, went to action. They started setting up the pillars to fall and catching Sentinels by surprise by the late game.
And I would even flag that as happening earlier in the game. They seemed to realize they weren't going to win into this Fortress composition and started sending Freaks into those side lanes to get a turret, to get extra gold, so that by the time we have that incredibly hectic Elder Dragon fight, you already have... I wasn't allowed to stand next... If you're wondering where I wasn't allowed to stand next to them because I predicted Liberty. By the time you got that
That's not
incredibly
true.
aggressive Elder Dragon fight, it's a huge Camille because he's just been sideline farming the entire time. It's shades of what we saw during an earlier series with AD carries, now being performed by a top lane Camille.
And this is the thing that I really do appreciate with Liberty. Their ability to really just make these almost very brash decisions, commit to it, and actually follow through.
They were really smart this series. I was really impressed by their decision making. This is one of the reasons why I predicted them, is because I think underneath the crazy, whoa, what's going on, it's Latam, underneath that, they're actually a really clever team. And you see that in moments like their team fighting. I think their team fighting has this incredible degree of communication. If you watch in those fights how they're communicating around Boss's Corki and the way they were protecting that Corki even during the early fights where they didn't have the firepower to win and they were kiting back with them and they were controlling the map. And then you see the rest of the game where, yeah, Sentinels are winning the team fights, but Liberty have recognized that, and so they're taking these team fights in a very Flash Wolf style as, okay, we're going to lose this team fight, but we're going to do it slowly, and during that time, our side lanes are farming up.
I think a huge shout out to Freaks is in recognition, and it's in very much deserved.
Oh, yeah.
That not only Freaks was doing the utmost split pushing duties on the opposite side of the map, but you saw how he was able to pinpoint accurately take out Rest multiple times in this fight. Do you realize how hard it is to get through Garen, Galio, Darius, Wukong as well? You can answer with a Cyclone. The fact that he consistently found Rest in these pockets where there was an entrance point that wasn't being guarded, he Hextech ultimatums him, he takes him out, or even the late game decision making. I love the adaptation from Freaks, recognizing, hey, Tybe is now the new focus for this their composition from Sentinels. If we stop him from getting the engage with the Cyclone, Tybe can't do anything. He can't get the engage off.
That fight near the dragon where they hit him with the Hextech ultimatum so that he couldn't reach the dragon to smite it. That's one of the coolest things I've seen a team do all tournament. And it comes from communication in the fight to call for that, but also just really smart gameplay to recognize that's an option. To go, okay, well, their jungler is split. Why don't we just leave him over there? Why doesn't he just take a timeout and we get the dragon?
Yeah, and it goes to show that Liberty did a lot of prep, and I know that's something that Monofritze also shared with me going into this matchup when they first took on Sentinels in their first play-in series, that we went back through a lot of their VODs. We even had to scrub through and see where Tybe came from back on Enemy, and we saw that he had a tendency to steal a lot of Barons, a lot of neutral objectives. So
they didn't let him near.
Exactly. They could not let the king of objective steals anywhere near that Elder, and you know, even though I predicted Sentinels to win the series, Liberty played fantastically well. And I cannot reiterate this enough. To all the Brazilian fans, all the Portuguese fans that are watching at home, I did not want it to come down to this. I would have preferred to see both Liberty and Sentinels get out of this group. But here we are. And, you know, as a message to the Brazilian fans, I wanted to say, que boa suerte, que venza el time mejor. Good luck. May the best team win at the end of the road.
Mark standing over you with a gun. I didn't want it to come down to this.
But I did have a very difficult time predicting this as well.
Oh yeah.
This is such an emotional series as well. I mean, you can even see it from the players. We can feel it from you quite clearly, and everybody as well, because there's so much at stake here for both of these regions. Both of these regions want to prove so badly that they deserve to be in groups and that they deserve to be in the playoffs all the way through.
I think the question for Sentinels coming into this next game is, okay, what's next? Because that was the easiest to execute, cleanest team fighting composition they've run all season, right? That is the basics for Sentinels. But as we talked about, it's a little bit outdated. We've seen teams beat it before, and it's vulnerable to exactly what what Liberty just pulled out, the side lane split push. So we need to see something a little more modern from Sentinels. Liberty aren't going to get tripped up by that.
That's right. Well, we're going to see exactly what comes next for both of these teams. Grandin and Riku, take us to game 2.
An exciting game number 2 coming your way. Sentinels and Liberty. You can see how torn Rafa is between these two teams. What's the root for them both, I'm sure, but I'm looking forward to seeing how they play this one out. If Liberty can once again close this series out and maybe in the 2-0 this time.
That would be very crazy, right? Because again, when we look back at Sentinels and Liberty, they took it at game 3. And it was Liberty that got that success. But again, I feel like Sentinels is also moving with the momentum from yesterday where they sent Kwangdong Freaks home, again, from the WCK. But as TJ said, how do you live now? Game number 2, how do you survive?
You modernize.
You modernize. You adapt, you modernize. And I suppose it's one of those things where you do also 131. You also draft something that can access the 131 comp.
All right, let's not get crazy now. That's a lot to do. That's a lot to deal with, all right? 131. Well, how about 4-1? You know, they played 5 guys.
Okay,
they played 5 people together. Now we do like a 4-1.
4-1.
Oh, there we go.
So we take it one subtraction, like one thing at a time.
And if they win this game, then that's where they get the 1-3-1.
Okay, that's the plan, Brandon. That's the plan for game 3 for Sentinels here. So I like it.
But in all seriousness, Sentinels going into this one had an amazing start to the game and were this close to being able to win it all. Right, they had gone on to the Elder Drake, a little bit slow in the response, but that fight, they had won it. It was down to Kona to get that split push going, and then he was just able to close out the game.
Yeah, crazy 1v1, right, from versus Mali there on that Jace. And again, I felt like the waves were marinated so well by Liberty. Freaks also doing that big split push. And it worked out very, very well. The way that they were winning the team fights at the end up against Sentinels versus the 4 beefy boys and Rest being that backline main DPS. And it felt like it sadly didn't work out so well for Sentinels. The fact that the kills didn't go over to Rest, instead all the kills went over to Tybe. So we'll have to see whether or not the dynamics will change a bit.
So,
will we
so
see
that's
Tybe?
that's the issue.
Yeah,
so that's the issue for you. If Rest had got all the kills, he would have killed them all.
Yeah.
Then they would have been able to recall because no one could have stopped them.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's that simple, guys. Just let Rest get all the kills. What's the alternative? Are we trying to say Tybe needs to do something now?
Okay, no. Okay, so if Tybe is gonna get all the kills, he should be on the Kazakhs this time.
Oh, there we go.
That's the plan.
The Sentinels want to go for Kazakhs. We'll have to see. Last chance. If they don't win this, there are no more games to try it out on. Oh, there we go. Champs Lag sounds starting.
Ooh. It's gonna be very exciting because, again, we talked about how the WNS, if the Sentinels win this, then that means there are 2 representatives coming in the group stage. Liberty, unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to the other Wild Tour teams, and Liberty the only sole survivor in the play-ins at the moment.
Sentinels get the half first pick, so I'm curious what that first pick is going to be. Karma and Lux removed for now.
I like this because, again, Liberty has a lot of respect. Again, honestly, when we look at the Sentinels and Liberty series, I feel like a lot of these bans are all respect bans. No meta bans, just a lot of respect in general. And now the Ziggs being taken out of the equation, that means no strong late-game Bomberman for the side of Sentinels this time around. It has won a lot of late-game games, and looking at how both of these teams work, we know they're going to reach the late-game Elder Drake fight.
I don't see Sentinels letting the Thresh through at any point.
Yeah, no way. Mano Fritze is just such an amazing Thresh player. But Sentinels though, banning the Sin Zhao is spelling it out that we're gonna go for a double AD carry composition. I'm imagining Lucian plus something. Now the Wukong, one of the best picks for Tybe, and one of the reasons why they emerged victorious against Guangdong Freaks.
A little surprised that Liberty have gone for the Corki right away.
Yeah.
Did not choose to go for the Lucian. Sentinels going to continue and double down on the Garen and Varus.
Again! They're doing it again! And Liberty can do it again as well because they know that the weakness for this composition is basically the 1-3-1. Rest needs to, again, this comp needs to operate as a 5-man unit. So that means Sentinels is saying, okay, we just needed to do better. The comp worked, but we just needed to do better.
Very WRL mentality.
Yeah.
If it wasn't a comp's fault, guys.
Yeah.
If we played it better, if the best team in the world had played our composition, would they have lost? No.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so that's what Sentinels go into it with, and I respect that.
Yeah, it's legit. It's legit, right?
You gotta go in the mindset, yeah, I could be the best team in the world, and so I will play the composition again.
That is saying that they're very confident, right? They knew that the late game was just the problem here. The execution was the problem. Now for Liberty, though, they pivot a little bit for more of this team fight. I like it. I like the idea. You have Camille Hextech Ultimatum into the Moonfall. But I feel like with the dueling potential that we couldn't see, we saw rather, with Kona, may not be available because we know that the Moonfall will always need to be in a team fight.
Removing a lot of the champion pull in the bottom side. Beginnings will not get to have his Galio this time. The Olaf also taken away from Liberty.
Ooh, I wonder what Kinzen's gonna pick this time around because we talked about the Kazakhs before, and it is one of the. Oh wait, is Lucian?
With the Nami coming through, will Sentinels take Lucian away to try and prevent that combo? But not much frontline here for Liberty.
Yeah, right. That's the issue for me when it comes to team fighting. But as long as they execute first, I feel like they will have a lot of damage and they can emerge victorious in the team fight. Now Sentinels has the option. We talked about double AD carry. So if they pick a Lucian, what would be? Oh, dear me, Akali.
Akali out for Sentinels.
I like this pick.
This is that final chance.
Yeah,
this is that final chance to pop off.
It's do or die, right? This is a very high risk, high reward pick. We've seen a lot of amazing Akalis in the tournament. We've seen Maru, we've seen Noelle. Now what could be next? Is it Molly? Is it MTS is going to be playing on this Akali?
I love this Alistar here for Sentinels. I love watching the beginnings of the Alistar.
Yeah, it's basically an engage and a disengage at the same time. You push people away, you knock them up. Now Liberty, will you pick that Lucian that we were looking forward to? Porky mid, give it to Kona. Diana top. No, it's gonna be a Jax Kinzen instead.
Really looks like Liberty are trying to hard force the 1-3-1 kind of position. You have Freaks off in the side lane, Kinzen off in the side lane. Liberty, they do their own thing in the mid side.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do against them? You might be able to get a kill there. But the side lanes are winning out and they get to push all the way to your base. I mean, Sentinels, what do they do?
Yeah, that's the question, right? Sentinels has to win these early games so that they can deal with the 1-3-1. And that's the reason why Liberty, again, they knew it, game 1 worked in their favor. We're looking at Freaks and Kinzen doing the split push instead of Kona this time around. But I feel like in a team fight scenario, I think they could still do decently with a tidal wave, with the Moonfall and the Hextech Ultimatum. But this time around for Sentinels, it's not only Rest dealing a whole lot of damage, it is now Molly potentially on the mid lane.
Keep your eyes peeled for this early game out from Sentinels. This is their chance to pull it back. They need to make sure they find a lead and get things going so they don't lose the scaling from Liberty, don't lose that 1-3-1 split push. So much to be done here for Sentinels, whereas Liberty are prepared to take this one away. Match point, they get to get a 2-0 and move in the group stage if they win this next game.
Yeah, a lot in the line in this series, in this game in particular for game number 2. And Liberty, of course, it's one of those things where it worked already in the first game. Why do we have to change it? We know this works. We know that for Sentinels, they're going to have a hard time with the 1-3-1 if they're able to scale in the late game. That's Jax, that's a Camille. Who's going to deal with them?
Big questions to be asked. Who deals with the assassins? Who deals with the damage dealers? Will Sentinels be able to pull back against Liberty here? For all intents and purposes, I'd say Sentinels was supposed to win that first game.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
the fact that they didn't, you know, it's time to reset, come back into it strong.
Yeah, it was a very solid team fight comp. There were so many times that they were winning these skirmishes, these 5v5s, but the late game 1-3-1 crept up to them. And therefore, their 5-man unit deemed ineffective against Liberty at that time. Now, I am loving what I'm seeing. Molly this time, not on a Garen, but on something that is very high mechanics when it comes to ceiling.
Right. High
Kona,
mechanical
though.
kind of champions. Shouldn't expect to see anything happen yet. It's defensive summoners, both for Mali and for Kona. That being said, those Sentinels and Liberty will see a much slower start, as both sides junglers truly just want to focus on getting a hit time. As I say that, we'll go into the mid lane, help Mali clear out the wave, give him a little bit of additional safety.
Yeah, it was having a hard time earlier, right? Kona was pushing in.
I don't quite see this working out.
Molly.
It's going to be difficult to hold down Mali,
Kona.
trying to walk away from the counter-strike. Tide missed the chance for the kill. Has to stop
Whoa!
flashing in. That's the barrier coming
Kinzen!
through. A massive start for Kinzen and first blood for Liberty.
Granted, that is not what you want for a Jax. Usually, you say, when you see a Jax, late game, that's when you start to shine. But if Kinzen gets these early kills, that is dangerous for Sentinels.
And I didn't think it was going to work out, Riku. I really didn't think it was going to work out. But Sentinels were hunting for a kill, and Liberty knew their limits, were able to punish them for that. An amazing job, well done by Kinzen there. That's what's going on to set it all up.
Exactly right. Basically able to marinate Molly at the beginning, chunk a bit of HP out of Molly, and then Kinzen came in, whacking Tybe and Molly as well in the mid lane. It worked out very well.
I've been hearing marinate a fair bit.
I don't know
today,
why.
Riku.
It's my favorite. It's like my word of the day.
Oh, okay. You're not hungry, right? You're good to go?
Yeah, I'm good to go, Brandon.
Okay, so it's not that. We'll figure it out at some point.
Maybe a
But
little bit
marinate they
then.
will.
Yep.
Marinate they will.
Exactly. Just for Kinzen to eat later. You already ate once, you can eat some more in the next fights.
Would be very nice for Kinzen to accelerate his lead. He already does have a pretty solid one. 900 gold up over Tybe. Tybe, of course, does not need as much to be effective. Realistically able to join in and fight, and his ultimate will do wonders for his team.
Exactly. Getting that Cyclone set up with the knock-up, basically double knock-up, bouncy, pushing everyone away, and then Rest and Molly is going to deal the sufficient damage. And since it's early game, the damage is not enough, boom, MTS comes in with the finisher, Demacia.
MTS, though, a slightly different look. Hunter Darius last game was able to at least find the upper hand, a little bit more crowd control for his team to make it easier for Rest to find the kills to finish off Liberty. Now, though, solely focusing on the execute. A lot of execute damage for Sentinels, but who gets them low enough to begin with?
Bubble will not connect here. They're trying to find something. 3v3.
Very nice Moonfall. Tidal Wave coming in as well. Does manage to block out Type. Initially, Type still has his ultimate. Looking to go into the back line. Corner goes down. Demali finds the execution, finds the assassination.
Double
but
bubble.
Kinzin in a very good spot here. With the help of Mana Frieze. The barrier comes through. Mali's still alive. Beginnings blocks the attempts from Mana Frieze.
Oh, Mana Frieze with the killer instincts there. Good thing Mali still had that barrier, but that could have been crazy. Mana Frieze with the last auto attack that almost kill.
Needed the ignite, but had the heal instead. That's alright. Still doing good work for his team.
That was an amazing setup by Kona, but unfortunately, the damage is still not enough at this point of the game. Kona more on the Rod of Ages, just wanting to get more of that survivability for sure. And the damage will come later.
Kinzin running over, but Beginnings
so low.
will spot out Kinzin. Kinzin gets to start running away. Nimbus Strike manages to chase after Type, walking over now. Kinzin flashes out back towards the turret. That's going to be Freaks using his ultimate hex tag ultimatum to lock down Type. Type's still alive, but now with a flash in, Freaks is too far away. Won't be able to land the strike on the Type. Might be looking for a re-engage here as Kona runs over. From the river, it's too far. Sentinels get back under turret.
Yeah, Sen now tapping out. They say they don't want to fight this. We'll see without Type now without flash. That's going to be a bit scary for him once he dives into the fight in the first spawn with Rift Herald and now Mountain Drake alive. But with Mali's positioning, though, it seems to me that they might give up this dragon instead. But the question is, will Liberty want to keep fighting with the one kill that they have for Kinzin?
Objectives coming up, though. And we have to see if the side lanes are going to make a big difference. Kona trades off against Mali as Sentinels will use that space to pick up the Rift Tower while Liberty trade for the Dragon in the bot side.
Are they going to rush down to the Dragon end fight? Makes me wonder, because they're there!
All right, trying to walk over now.
Oh.
Will be a little bit too late. Liberty do manage to find the Dragon in time.
I like this from Liberty. They know that the 3v3 earlier basically said they can't fight it. They can't fight Sentinels yet in this game state. So they decide to just call it and scale and keep trading.
Rift Tower comes through, but no smite on Kinzin. Difficult to finish off and execute it in time.
Oh, nice.
Koma dodging, Mali dodging with a shuriken flip. Exhaust onto the Kali, keep him away. Beginning comes in, but a flash away from Kona.
Really nicely done. Reflexes from Kona. I felt like Kona wanted to do the 1v1, but at the same time, you need to exhaust all the dashes from Mali before you moonfall, or else that's going to go to waste.
Shuriken flip once again. Kona in a difficult position. The ignite from Beginnings could be enough, but we start to see Mana Frieze running over to lend support to Kona.
Yeah, that tower's about to go down. They're gonna get first, well, not really. Sentinels already got first break tower. Basically, Liberty wants to take a trade, remove top lane. But look at that, Mali already making his way towards top, so I don't think Liberty's gonna get this.
Twin Shadows here for Mana Frieze. I quite like this adaptation.
Yeah.
And although he's on an Enchanter this time around, I still feel like Mana Frieze has a lot of kind of presence on the game right now. He's been around in a lot of these fights. He was there when they were fighting around the Raptor camp. We saw that aggressive flash forward. You know.
It doesn't really matter what Mano plays, right? Whether he's on a Thresh, he's on a Nami, he's gonna play it very aggressively, and we see a lot of key bubbles a lot around this game. And the fact that he has Twin Shadows, so therefore he is assigned to always find Mali inside the Twilight Shroud.
Mali is going to have the support of the rest of his team, but they are a little bit further away. Kinzin tries to dash in for his boss web, they're not going to get over the wall. The rest misses the chance to use his ultimate. Chain of Corruption won't be able to hit. Liberty get to back off.
A lot of respect still. Again, Beginnings is also there to make sure that if Liberty decides to dive, they're going to push them away.
Liberty's starting to bring in the wave, trying to crash it onto the turret here, Sentinels.
Type
joining in. Off, Type jumps in, gets the ultimate in, Cyclone onto the backline. Boss does not have much mana left. Still looking for some damage with the Gatling gun. Beginnings, such a massive front line. But Kona dashes in, he gets the moonfall. And Beginnings, his ultimate is timed out. Exhaust over onto Mali, he's trying to finish off the Akali here. Shuriken flip, gets him out, but he goes back in. The perfect execution will get blocked. And with the exhaust removing its damage.
How did Kinzin live throughout all that, I do not know. Intense positioning from Liberty. Great dive, it's still not over though.
Rest over by the side. Boss in a 1 versus 1 against the
no.
Varus. But Rest will come up ahead as the Victor Kona. So able to get it. Freaks. Technical sweep. Looking for the last auto attack. The redemption comes in. Will give the heal over the Rest. Actually, keeping him still alive. Rest is still alive.
I cannot believe it. You know, Freaks was just waiting for the stasis to come up by, you know, porting in front of Rest. But
That
guess what?
redemption, Riku.
Yeah, just saved Rest. Jeez, that was crazy.
It's from MTS too? Wow.
Yeah, but it all started here, right? It was an amazing setup by Ty, but look at the healing coming from Mano. Look at the tidal wave timing. And basically, a lot of damage output. Kona with an amazing moonfall to finish the job on Ty. And again, the way that Liberty maneuvers around these fights it's basically amazing. How they reposition, not too risky, but they get the job done. And then Kinzen just lives.
Yeah, and he let the Neo Love, he'll live with the Jax.
Yeah.
Somehow.
How does he do it? Okay, yeah, Divine Sunder, yes. He even has a Proto Bell in his hand, knowing the fact that he will need, aside from the leap, he will need extra mobility to jump into these fights. I like it.
I mean, I'm looking at Ginsen now, he's just popping off.
Yeah, 202.
Enjoying the game. Honestly, really enjoying the game.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is the set. This is what Liberty needs. Their win condition of, I mean, we expected Kinzen to really shine at the late game, but getting these early kills, even now 202, is a very good sign for Liberty.
Careful what Freaks wants to do here. He does manage to spot them out, trying to jump in
Rest
on the
again.
rest, and he should be able to get it. The package comes through. They find the Varus. The first kill over to Liberty, but can they finish off Freaks? The answer looks to be no, as the wild tidal wave comes in, beginning gets knocked out. They finish off MTS as well. Now they're in the mid lane to get a massive move fall. Kona comes in, clutch for the team. Ty taken down by Kinzen. Ty taken down by Kona. And Molly, the lone survivor from Sentinels. The exhaust once again, so effective against the assassin. Will take down Mano Freeze, but Boss hot on his tails with one auto attack away. The first respawn does it, and a Prime Gaming ace over to Liberty.
Clean slate. Liberty is able to clean up Sentinels off of the map, get that Rift Herald, get kills for Kinzen, Kona, and Boss. This is just so ideal. You could see that Molly was trying his best to attack the backline, distract Boss, distract Mano Fritze, but at the end of the day, the team fighting of Liberty, let's take a look at that again. It all started with his positioning. Freaks had an amazing flag, Boss with an aggressive package with this very compressed area and basically catching Sentinels off guard. Look at Mano with the bubble as well, keeping MTS in check. And the moonfall, Kona, so amazing. Double kill for Kinzen. This is a disaster for Sentinels. It's so good for Liberty.
I mean, the composition might change slightly, but the idea still stands. Rest going down so early at the start of the fight means a lack of damage left for Sentinels. We jump right back into the action here. Riku, a move fall once again will catch the backline of Sentinels. Rest gets a free hit this time around, but Kinzen very quickly jumping in on him. The Varus tries to walk forward. He wants to pick up the scraps of this fight, but Liberty have taken what they've won, and they backed off.
Yeah, they already gotten the mid lane tower. No second charge though, but they got enough space for this dragon take. Sentinels wants
got the
round
charge,
number 3.
Riku.
Yeah, they did get the charge.
And now Liberty move on to the dragon. Sentinels can only watch as Liberty start this one off. The rest of the team will start running over. Molly tries to jump in now. Kona looking to assassinate begins. A big double man knockup, but he needs the rest of his team to find damage. Kinzen trades back again.
Wow.
Todd using the playful trick, using the trickster to pull attention away from Liberty.
Everyone's so low. It's poke versus poke, but it's Liberty winning this poke right now. Look at Molly buying teleport. Where's that teleport gonna go?
Dragon reset, Liberty start this one again. Like you said, teleport picked up, but Molly changes his mind. This is not a fight worth going for. He picks it up again. He picks up the teleport, but you have to watch out for this. There's nothing left here.
Yeah, unless
Gets his Cyclone. Gets his Cyclone in. Going on to Kona, going on to Boss, on the Mana Freeze. They start to flash away. No follow-up out from Sentinels. Kinzen off by the side as well.
Crazy control by Liberty. Not only they are amazing in team fights, but the way that they control. They want more rounds of this.
Riku is still not over.
It's
still not over. Beginnings caught out by Kona and Kinzen. The flash in from Molly, but a jump out from Kinzen.
They're so comfortable. The fact that there was a 2v4 scenario and they're able still to manage to back away is a very telling sign what the game state is already for Liberty. They were distracting, canceling the ports of Sentinels because Freaks was split pushing top side. Now they're doing Baron!
Wait a minute. Baron started off by Liberty. The ebb and flow, despite Liberty are doing such an amazing job. Fight after fight, objective after objective, transitioning from the Drake to the Baron. Liberty will be uncontested as Sentinels have no knowledge of this going down.
Of course, this is so unexpected. Liberty, fast decision making. They know what to do. It is that great domino effect of thinking ahead. Again, Kins and Kona distracting Sentinels. Then Freaks prep the wave top. I mean, it's amazing. This team is amazing. And now for Sentinels, they have to fight this siege. We talked about the 1-3-1. Kinzen is prepped for it. He's 404. Freaks has been doing amazing as well. Has Hullbreaker. Now they have to deal with this.
Package picked up for Liberty. Sentinels, they were on a timer before. Now, even worse, they must make a final stand for the competitive chances, for a chance for a game number 3. Must find a massive fight here.
Yeah, Tybe has to pull the trigger while Freaks is pushing the side lane. There's no teleport for any of the Liberty people.
Liberty far away, beginning to move in. Look at the catch on the Kinzen. Kinzen is the one they want, but he has a counter-strike and he will not go down. Freaks jumps in on the beginning, trying to kill him off first. The outside finally falls. Exhaust comes through, preventing a lot of the damage out from Freaks. Watch out for the moonfall coming in. MTS not able to get the execute onto the Camille. He goes down. A double kill, and Rest the only one left alive. Liberty take the ace. They take them down. A 2-0 win incoming here for Liberty.
Liberty with a massive control, amazing team fight, amazing decision making. 2-0ing Sentinels, and they're going in with from a sole representative in the play-ins, now going to the group stage.
And in the rematch, it is Liberty with a 2-0.
What a way. What a way to win. I mean, we looked at game number 1.
Amazing energy out from the Liberty team.
I'm so happy.
Men of Friese with a slightly different outlook.
Yep.
Did not go for the engaged style champions. Tossed Sentinels expectations.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Spending multiple bans, getting rid of stuff like the Thresh, picking up the outside from themselves, and Men of Friese says, doesn't matter, I'm gonna play the Nami.
Exactly, there were so many avenues and answers where Mano Friese was so ready for those target bans. He played the set, it was so incredible. Accessing that back lane for the team. Now the Nami being able to deal a lot of tidal waves and support for Liberty.
Tons of energy, I love that. Getting that win moment, getting the post-win selfie. And Liberty will be the last team moving into the group stages, joining the rest of the best
Yeah.
in Wild Rift Esports as we move into group stages of Icons. They have tough competition, but if they're moving in this form, I'm looking out for big things from the team, from the Liberty.
I know. From
Liberty,
Wild
Liberty.
Tour, from Liberty, from
Yeah.
Wild Tour, from the Brazil region. It's electrifying hearing. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but they're cheering right now. They have their battle cries, and it's a 2-0. It's a very dominant 2-0. They're looking good coming into the group stages.
They absolutely are, and there is a lot to unpack in this series. We have a lot of big fans for both sides on the desk. Rafa, you got half of it. You got half of it.
Yeah.
You got half of it.
Okay.
But I mean, the energy is undeniable, of course. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys can hear it. I think they're heading over to your side
We
right
can
now.
track them through the
Yeah.
backstage
just
by the
listen.
shouting.
Just listen and you'll find Liberty.
The Liberty pop-offs is very contagious. So this is a huge win for Brazil, for the Wild Tour region. They now
Made
get
it
to
to
have
groups.
2 seeds representing Brazil in the group stage. And my God, this is the Latino in me cannot help but smile. It's like, look at that. Look at that. These are the personalities that I want to see thrive at Icon.
This is amazing. Look at them. They're so elated. And I bet this energy is definitely, that's what we heard. It's absolutely crazy. It's a party back there. And we can still hear them up until this moment. But
They
yes,
are still going. They just started chanting
they
again.
just started it again. They started chanting once again. But yeah, TJ, this win for Liberty was pretty amazing. And,
Yeah.
you know, Rafa mentioned how players like Mano were being pushed to their limit. And I think that really showed their development over the course of a few days was amazing.
I think it's very clear Liberty are forced to be reckoned with. They understood what Sentinels were bringing. I challenged Sentinels to change their game plan coming into game number 2. They didn't manage to pull out anything Liberty weren't expecting, and so Liberty came into game 2, took them apart the same way. Recognized they could play through the side lanes, recognized what Sentinel's strengths were, and hit them hard. I think it's a very smart team going into groups, and it's a very dangerous team going into groups.
But more above anything, it is a fun team as well. The personalities.
You don't say.
Whole package.
Yeah, I cannot express enough how infectious their energy is. And the thing that made me like really smile and kind of liven up the most is when Sentinels had their backs against the wall and Molly went back to his roots from the days of being on Chonk Chortle, pulling out an Akali into a Diana. The rest of Liberty knew that matchup is tough to pull off. And the fact that you are willing to throw down the gauntlet, Brazil was more than ready to say, okay, let's go. Now we're going to have some fun.
We're going to give you a show.
There was a cheer on stage where the Akali gets locked in. Let's go!
They're like, oh, okay, yeah, bring it.
And this matchup was so fun to watch. I mean, we really got, you know, a treat with the Assassin versus with the Akali and Diana. That was just a mechanic showdown.
And huge props to Kona. You know, game 1, I think Freaks was the big star, putting up so much pressure, but Kona all day, every day for this Diana pick. The moonfalls were some of the filthiest I have seen throughout this entire playing stage. So nasty, you're gonna have to go through like multiple stages of Clorox wipes just to wipe it down.
Oh yeah, that was grosser than I thought we were going in a different. Yes. Really good Moonfall, really good game from Kona. I thought the way that he played the map in particular is worth noting. Wasn't just the sick team fights, as always with these Wild Tour teams, it's how they get to the sick team fights. And if you watch that game, they're always finding bushes they can stand in. They're always finding angles through which they can catch Sentinels in a team fight. And it's that kind of map awareness and ability to do the research to figure out what Sentinels are going to want to do and be in their heads when they're just trying to back away from a dragon, man. You could jump out, hit him with the Moonfall. That was all game.
And I really did enjoy, on the side of Sentinels as well, you know, we did have Mali. I did enjoy beginnings as well. This was such a good, I feel like this was such a good game, such a good treat from beginnings. And a way to go out for Sentinels as well. They really did play their best.
What a good farewell for them, playing the characters that they know so well. After getting the win over Korea, over KDF, after demonstrating what North America can do on the international stage, they go down to a team as dynamic as that. I think, obviously, you're sad. I'm sad as a North American fan, as a Sentinels fan more specifically, but I'm glad we got to say goodbye to them like that.
If Sentinels had to go down to an opponent, I'm happy that it was Liberty. And I'm happy that Liberty came through with such a force to be reckoned with that you can't be as disappointed as you might look at the result and just go, oh man, Sentinels got blown out. This is a Brazilian team that, yes, it's the 3rd seed, but when you look back at the history of what this team had to go through, they were technically in the upper bracket. They had taken games off of Omega Esports before getting knocked down. They went to a full 5-game series against Vivo Keed, who clutched down Game 5, took the 2nd seed technically, but the fact that those 3 teams were so close with each other, you can reckon that Liberty is just as good as Omega Esports, and therefore these Brazilian teams, now 2 of them in the group stage. If you're an Eastern team, you can't sleep on them. If you're another Western team, you can't sleep on them. And I want to see the biggest challenge now for Brazil and for the rest of the Brazilian fan base. How far can both of these teams go? Can they live up to the legacies of Furious Gaming and Rex? Can they take a game or can they take a series off of the WRL representatives?
I think so. I can't wait.
I can't wait to see Liberty go into groups because I feel like they are a team that has been constantly growing and getting scarier and scarier as Icons progresses. So I'm actually really excited to see them as they go into groups. And as we say that, actually, we are getting closer and closer to the group stages, and we have a little something to discuss later on. But right now, wrapping this up, Sentinels and Liberty, this was one of our most heated matches for this day. I feel like, this despite needing to say goodbye to Sentinels, this was such a good matchup. This was such a good series. All of the games we actually had today were incredibly well, and I feel like on the side of Sentinels, they all got to show what they were best at. They all really shone through in this final series that they had.
Sentinels, if you're watching this, go home with your heads held up high. You took down Kwangdong Freaks, the #2 Korean seed, in an incredible fashion. You showed your strengths on the international stage. You gave North America its first international series win. That is something to be proud of. Liberty was the better team today. Brazil is a strong region. Respect Brazil. Things happen, But for Sentinels, farewell. And for Liberty, congratulations. Parabéns, a total to the rest of the Brazil region.
Yeah, man. It was a rough day to be a Western fan, except if you're a Western fan of Brazil. And they're the only team from the West that made it out today happy. But I think that for every team that got eliminated today, we saw a little bit of what makes them great. And it served as a great reminder over the course of the day that this is the best teams in the world.
Exactly.
And even the teams that are getting eliminated very early on at Icons are some of the best teams that have ever played Wild Rift, if not literally the best teams.
Exactly. Like, zooming out, we have to remember that this is the inaugural global championship for Wild Rift. You have all of these teams. They are all here for a very, very good reason. And just, not making it to groups, that is nothing against them. They are still some of the best in the world. They are still here on this beautiful stage.
Yeah. And when you look back at the only other international competition we had as history back at Horizon Cup in November, you look at the relative strength of the Western regions from there and as well.
Yeah, dude.
TSM took down Tribe in dominating fashion. And, North America, the hope was, okay, we're going to go home, we're going to level up our competition. But that doesn't mean that the rest of the regions aren't going home either and practicing a little bit of the competition. Everyone got good. Everyone got insanely better. And that if anything to take away, the gap is closing between Western teams and Eastern teams overall.
I think the gap's closing everywhere. Like, these play-ins have been so insanely competitive. We definitely came in with a hierarchy in our heads, and I think what has been proven is that it is much flatter than we thought. EU teams, NA teams, LATAM teams, Brazilian teams are all competing with the Asian regions. Korea has looked very mortal. The only region that has come out of the play-ins with a very clear lead is China, is the WRL, who are still the teams to beat.
And actually, as we say that, looking at the teams to beat, indeed, we proceed to our live draw for the group stages. As you can see, you see representatives from all of the teams right now. And this draw is happening before our very eyes. I'm really excited to see who goes where and, how this is going to play out.
Now, a couple things to remember. For the group stage, there's a few reminders that everyone watching at home, when it comes to new seeds coming into the group stage, it is possible for multiple teams of the same region, up to 2, to actually be now seeded into the same group.
That's right.
Coming in from the play-in stage directly. So there's implications that you could have something like multiple WRL teams in the same group. You can have multiple C teams in the same group. You could even end up with Omega Esports into the same group. And are these actually is this what we just
This is the first seed out of play-ins, and they now have their groups. We have Nova Esports with Team Flash and Leviathan in Group A. And the rest as well. We proceed to the draw for the second seed. And I know that was just a flash before your eyes, Rafa. Hold that pose. Hold that pose.
Just stay there.
To
Don't
the very
move.
end. Yeah. I stay there.
Did you
as
not? JDG is in Immortals group.
Oh, no, dude. There's some very strong reactions from the caster bench over there.
Oh, God.
That is very bad for poor Immortals.
Is it, though? Is it?
Did you see JDG play?
I just want to say mean, now after what we've seen in the play-ins, I am so curious to see if we're gonna see another kind of surprise, I guess.
WRL teams are the teams to beat so far, and I think it is very clear that what we have seen so far, apart from the WRL, everyone is mortal. So, however these groups play out, there are no easy groups right now. But the teams with the fewest number of WRL teams in their groups are going to be very happy.
So I was theory crafting with a couple of the other colleagues, and we were talking about, okay, for Europe and NA, okay, you know what? Let's just go right into it. Wow.
Okay.
A rematch of Brazil and North America, Immortals also getting the Liberty slot, but then looking at the other groups, I think a big one that jumps out to me, I know Stuart popping off, Team Queso with Rex, that is J-Team as well, Sengoku. Is there any double ups here? Oh, Burirem and Flash Wolves ended up being in the same group.
That's right. Look at Group C. Look at that action right there.
And look at Group A. That Group A is also stacked.
That is also
T1
stacked.
in the remaining team out of Korea in the plans into the same group as Team Flash, the best team out of the WCS, into the same group as Nova Esports, all in there with Leviathan. Group B for Team Queso looks quite good. And of course, the way these are going to play out, if you're just joining us when we come into the group stage next week, it's going to be the same format. So, same GSL style format, best of threes, win two, you get out of groups to the knockout stage, the bracket, lose, you're out of the tournament.
That's exactly right. Right now, I feel like Group C, Burirem and Flash Wolves are looking at each other like, oh my gosh, you were once my brother, and now
That's a nightmare, man.
We will be
It's
going
back
head
to
to
the
head.
WCS playoffs.
Exactly. I mean, right now, Group B, I just want to say RRQ, I'm feeling pretty confident. I am out of Group B. Group A and Group D, though, are going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, all these groups are crazy. Just like glancing at it, I'm starting to see like what some of the top threes are, but none of these groups look so easy that I think you can have an easy top two and easy two graduates. We're gonna have some great games in the group stage next week.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of discussion, by the way, I feel, right after this.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everyone on Twitter does know who the top two teams out of each group are gonna be.
Everybody, it's already there.
Yeah.
They already have their essays
Hashtag
written.
Wild Rift Icons, send it in, send us your brackets.
That's right. Rafa, are you feeling confident? What are you feeling about these groups?
Man. I literally, when we were looking at the potential, like, if the seeds from the third round, it was either J-Team or Burirem that Immortals would have preferred from the North American side. Getting JDG is by far the scariest scenario from the third round. And yes, someone can look at home and be like, oh, well, you didn't get Flash Wolves, you didn't get Rex, you didn't get T1. Did you just see the way that Liberty dismantled Sentinels? Like, Brazil in this tournament, at this point, I feel like is on the same level as Korea. And it is something that Manafritse expressed that we feel like even though Korea should be a top 3 region, we can be on the same level as them.
I have an evolving thought though, Rafa. I said earlier that I don't think any of these groups are easy. I think there is a group of life. I think Group B is very good for CQ. I think if you're an EU fan right now or an RRQ fan right now, everyone in that Group B is in striking distance.
Yeah.
RRQ should be really happy because they can absolutely take games off of TQ and Sengoku. Sengoku lost some of their key players. If you're remembering them as the team that was so competitive last season, that's kind of up in the air. They're the best team out of Japan still, but only by 1 game. An Unsold Stuff Gaming were pretty competitive with everyone else in their group. So RRQ, PH fans, you should be very happy. TQ, if you're one of the European fans still holding on to hope, that's a pretty good group for them as well. They do need to play against RRQ and Sengoku, but I think that's in striking distance. Very good, very fun.
Yeah, I think Europe definitely got the better end of the draw of the possibilities.
It's only J-Team, so the worst team out of China in that group.
I mean, anytime you refer to J-Team as
point.
the quote-unquote easiest WRL.
The easiest team.
And the way that they completely just destroyed the remainder of Group C. I mean,
Yeah, man.
you can't sleep on them either. But sure, like, theoretically, Team Queso, that is probably one of the best scenarios they could have gotten. I'm actually looking at Group A as well, and the Latino in me, once again, looking at Leviathan Esports. They already were paired with Team Flash, and now they ended up with Nova Esports. They ended up with T1, and you know, if going into today, before the performance that we got from T1 versus Rix, Leviathan could have been like, okay, yeah, Team 1 are kind of slumping. Not anymore. BDG is on a mission.
They managed to fix everything.
He is coming with the force of a dynamite, and Leviathan just looking Kite. Oh, one of the
That's
few.
full farm T1, dude.
Yeah, Leviathan and Kite especially from the Dragon Lane is like, oh god, the Dragon Laners from this group alone is so terrifying.
Yeah, that is stacked.
Well, before Rafa loses it completely, let's rein it back a bit. Before we go, let's send it to Dagon to hear from Sentinels one last time.
Hi, Dagon.
Hey y'all, after their game against Brazil's squad, I'm joined by Sentinels, MTS, and Rest. Gents, obviously not the result that we're looking for here for North America. Coming off of the highs of the win against Guangdong Freaks, just wanted to get your thoughts on how you're feeling right now and how that series went for you. We'll start with you, Rest.
We're pretty disappointed. In game one, we had the lead going, and then we kind of threw. And game two, we just made some mistakes, and game got out of hand for us. So.
MTS.
Yeah, I just think we should have closed out game one better, and then I think game two or game three just would have been went better for us, just confidence-wise and things like that.
Sure. I mean, you know, obviously tough to think about the positives at this exact moment, but, you know, thinking about the tournament as a whole, what you were able to accomplish with the big win against the Freaks, getting us on the board as North America for our first series win in international play, what did that mean to you at that time?
That meant a ton to us. The team was all so happy, and to be able to come out here with a substitute jungler and take the series off Korea's #2 seed just meant a lot to the team.
MTS, you know, TJ calls your superpower being able to go up against any top laner and neutralize them. What was it like getting more international play here in Wild Rift?
I think I learned a lot, like facing different players, different play styles and things like that. I think it just made me better as a player, and I think I'll do better when I get back to NA.
For sure. What are your big learnings here, Rest?
Different level of aggression throughout the game, and just how to play a little bit safer on champions.
I don't want to hold you guys too long, so I guess final words for all the fans, the Sentinels fans and North American fans that have supported you every step of the way.
Yeah, thanks everyone for supporting us. It was awesome to see everyone's reaction when we took the series off Korea, as well as thanks to my wife for supporting me while I'm out here and my family for watching the games.
MTS?
Thanks for cheering us on, and we'll do better next time.
You guys did great. Everyone is proud of you. Don't worry about it. All right. Sentinels, everybody.
There you go. Don't worry too much about it, because I definitely think that with what Sentinels has achieved here, the Wild Rift NA scene has definitely elevated, and we still, of course, have a team in the group stage. I mean, I just want to get your quick thoughts now that we've seen the groups that we have. We'll start with you, Rafa.
Once again, super exciting groups across the board. I think Group C, it's a shame that two of the C teams ended up against each other, because I think both Flashfulls and Buryram have such exciting stories coming up as the respective second seed and the fourth seed. Buryram, I think, came in with a huge surge of momentum, being the fourth seed in their respective group as well. And the fact that they overcame it as one of the top seeds, I think is something to celebrate. And it just goes to show that for Southeast Asia, this is a region that was so close. They were top 4 at Horizon Cup, Team Secret, the lone Filipino team, trying to see if they could be within striking distance of both Dakun Gaming and Thunder Talk Gaming. This is a tournament now where you have 4 chances as the Southeast Asia region to put yourselves on the same level as China.
Yeah, I think the simplest takeaway from what we've seen so far is you better be tuning in next week. I believe I'm gonna make everyone so happy right now. If you go to wildriftesports.com, the schedule for next week is, I believe, already up. It might not have the teams filled out, but you'll have the times in your local time zone, and you don't want to miss any of those games. Because if you thought play-ins was close, if those games raised your heart rate, we're doing it again in 3 days.
That is absolutely right. And that about wraps up our play-in stage. We will see you next week for the group stages. Thank you so much for tuning in. Mika Fabs here with Rafa and TJ on the desk, and on behalf of the whole production, stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you in the Rift.
Woo!
What did
Woo!
Woohoo! What did she... Hi, Riku. That's how we talk.